Greatest character in anime and manga, greatest side characters in anime and manga. This is by the Masked Man. Of course, we are big Masked Man fans here on this channel. I will watch as much anytime I see his stuff on my feed and it looks relatively interesting. It goes to the watch later tab and it goes right into your guys' faces because I want to continue commentating on his stuff and reacting to his stuff because I just find it so engaging. But let's get right into this one, boys and girls.
There's a little bit of context that needs to be stated before getting into the video. A bit over a year and a half ago, my little brother's first manga ever was Pluto, and due to the anime announcement, I thought it'd be a really good idea to watch Monster together. Now obviously this isn't my first time going through Monster, but seeing his first time reactions to everything has been absolutely priceless. When starting the series, I told him I knew there was going to be one character above all that was going to be his favorite, and that is the character we're going to be talking about in this video, Wolfgang Grimmer. I actually asked him this morning, and I'm not making this up. I swear on everything that I love. I asked him, I was like, to summarize, why is he your favorite character? This man puts his sandwich down, looks up at me and goes, it's because he's nice, and then just goes back to eating. There's a meme, and I don't know if y'all have seen it, where it's like people who like Grimmer, also people who like Grimmer. And as much as I would like to leave it at that, I'm gonna
we know which side the Masked Man's on. He is fucking endless text box. He is fucking endless crazy schizo text box, and his brother's like, bro, he just chill like that, dog.
I have to be the person on the left side of the meme. Now, when it comes to Monster as a series,
I fucking told you guys, not even like a pre-watch moment or anything. I just 100% first time reacting to this. I already know what the fucking Masked Man is. I am a connoisseur of Masked Man content. By the way, like he has a manga that he's working on, and I think he's got some parts done. Definitely go check it out. I've seen like the first couple pages, and it looks pretty cool. His artwork's really incredible.
the main thing that's discussed is Johan as a character, and of course him and Tenma's entire dynamic, be it that they're the protagonist and antagonist of the series. Obvious enough, right? But that's not what entirely makes Monster special as a story. It's one of the key things that, you would tell people when trying to get them on the series, but it's the overall cast of Monster as a whole that the more you rewatch or reread, the more that you appreciate these other supporting characters and how great a lot of them are. Each of these characters are given importance by having some sort of tie to an even more important character into the series. They all contribute into making the story feel far more grounded and far more human, and each of them in a way sort of can contribute to the main theme of the story as well. But if there's one character above all of the others that does that, it would be Grimmer, who's
well, and this is something I said last time I covered a Monster video on the channel. It was why I prefer Yu-Yu Hakusho over Hunter x Hunter. It's because I felt like all the characters that are kind of introduced at the beginning of the show are important throughout the show, right? They're always there. They're always like integral pieces to the puzzle that is the greater narrative. Now, not every single one makes it all the way through, but for the most part, most of them do, especially after they're introduced, compared to Hunter x Hunter, where, yeah, they come back in the last season, but there's just, like, whole points where they just omit, like, a lot of the characters that build up with the main character, and they're almost forgotten about, which kind of sucks, It's kind of sad to see that it goes in that direction, right? And it's like, again, I think if you look arc for arc Hunter x Hunter has incredible stories to be told, but put it all together, I just don't think it holds up as well as Yo-Yo. That's my personal opinion. I just love the character dynamic, the side characters in Yo-Yo. I love everything that like builds upon each other in these relationships he's formed, and in Hunter x Hunter, I just felt like that was a crucial aspect missing. Not to say that the side characters weren't incredibly written. I just hate how they all disappear.
Introduced near halfway, I would actually argue a little after the halfway point of the series, and immediately steals the show. Grimmer, just like Johan, is from the Kinderheim systems, these horrible orphanages where they would conduct human experiments and pretty much strip children of their ability to feel, turning them into these somewhat killing machines, as we see with not only Johan, but also Roberto as well, who is from Kinderheim, and Grimmer himself. By this point in the story, it has been established that Johan as a character is incredibly cold, manipulating, will do anything in order to achieve whatever he wants to do at the moment, even if it costs other people's lives. In fact, by this point, it should be pretty obvious into the mind of the audience that the value of human life means diddly squat to the man, contrast to Tenma, who values human life greatly as a doctor. Now, why am I talking about the conflict of Tenma and Johann? Well, that is the grander conflict within the series of Monster, and it's important to state this because that grander sort of message and theme in the series, that grander conflict we see between two characters, we actually see done in one character, which is Grimmer. You see, Grimmer, being from very similar circumstances to Johann, has every right to have turned out the same way. In fact, Grimmer isn't the only character throughout the series who could have turned out similar to Johann. Nina as well, but yet these are characters along with Tenma that foil Johann's entire sort of representation, if you will. Johann standing for pure nihilism, the absolute loss of value in life and in human existence. It's this complete stripping of his humanity that creates the monster that is Johann. He's completely accepted this, he's given into this emptiness, this void. And then we have Grimmer. You see, Grimmer as a character upon introduction comes off extremely friendly. In fact, he almost comes off completely non-threatening until you get to know more and more of his character. But one of the initial quotes that I want to bring up from Grimmer is, I think, incredibly important to understanding the struggle of his character and what sort of ends up becoming one of the most beautiful moments I think I've ever read in a story. I was forced to study many languages: Russian, English, Spanish, French. Out of all those things to learn, what do you think was the hardest? How to smile. I find it very interesting that he would talk about learning.
Bro, that's so fucking sweet, dog. That's so fucking, like, genuinely nice, dude. Learn how to smile, dude. That's heartwarming, bro. That's goosebumps. I got goosebumps jizzing out of my arms right now, bro.
How to smile after discussing what sort of languages he was forced to learn. You see, after everything he had gone through, being stripped of his emotions and being stripped of his memories, trying to regain and fight it was a difficult thing. You see, we as people, we use words to communicate, we use different languages, but we also use our emotions. Our emotions, our sentiments, what we feel is such a vital part of how we attach and communicate with other people. It's a form of communication, and it's that form of communication that Grimmer has been trying to regain, hold on to, maintain once again, that has been the hardest one to learn. And I think one of the strong contrasts we could see between Grimmer and Johann that pretty much directly correlate is the way that they go about treating children. You see Johann, who's pretty much a soft-spoken version of low-tier God and what he's able to convince children to do, and the meaningless of
Another low-tier God reference, bro. Bro, I love that he's just, like, keeps comparing him to fucking low-tier God. It's so funny, dude. It's just, like, every time he, like, I hear or see low-tier God, he's like, I just think about him calling Boogie a fat fuck.
Their lives, versus Grimmer, who we see as an incredibly protective individual, who is so caring for others, but yet he himself is so self-sacrificing. And it's rather tragic because despite his incredibly good intentions, he isn't really capable of genuinely feeling these emotions. He's trying to physically assimilate what he should be doing based off of those emotions. We see this with Melosis, a boy who has his mind broken by Johann after realizing the cruelty of the world, because if no one would want you, what is your purpose? And he's saved and stopped by Grimmer, but while Grimmer's holding him, he's looking back at Tenma, wondering if he's making the right expression. What emotion is he feeling and what emotion is he expressing? And it's really one of the more beautiful and touching moments in the entire series. I think what allows him to hold on to these incredibly human sentiments is his disassociation with his violent side, with that side of him which loses all sort of restraints for other people, that side of him that no longer cares for others, that manifests in the Magnificent Steiner. You see, this was all done brilliantly. The grander message and the grander conflict within the story of Monster is so beautifully encapsulated in this character that I would dare say that I think Grimmer is the best supporting character I've ever seen in any anime and manga. And it's this moment where he finds himself in these life or death situations where the Magnificent Steiner comes out. You see, with Johann, there's a point in the series where they believe Johann might have split personality, but yet that's not really the case. Johann is simply a monster through and through, despite what the other doctors try to cope with, and what Lunch himself isn't willing to accept for a large majority of the series, that Johann, the monster within him, has gotten so large it has consumed him whole and now consumes all others around him. And yet with Grimmer, there is a disassociation between himself and sort of the monster within, if you will. For Grimmer, in order to maintain and be able to latch onto those human sentiments he wants to feel genuinely again, there needs to be that split, and that's where the separation between him him and the Magnificent Steiner comes in. In a life or death situation, he loses it, he completely snaps, and the Magnificent Steiner comes to rescue the day. But yet the brutality of what he's capable of doing when it just completely lets go is such a complete 180 from the kind, compassionate individual we're presented that's always smiling. There's a very key important piece of information to Grimmer's character that we learn about, which is he was able, after the whole Kinderheim situation, eventually taken into a better family, although in reality that aspect of his life wasn't truly free either, and he received a lot of training as a spy, and he...
Dude, it's just so crazy, this whole story just being based around these kids getting fucking turned into ultimate killing machines. There's a movie called, The Red Sparrow, I think. It's with, the chick from Hunger Games, and it kind of gives me the same vibes as this, where it was just like these people had no choice but to become these monsters, and she was kind of a good comparison to this, where she was like this monster, but she realizes at the end of the day she's not what they want her to be.
He ended up getting a wife and having a son, but when his son ended up dying, he was incapable of feeling emotion towards such a thing, which is incredibly heartbreaking. In fact, his wife accused him of having no sentiments at all and ended up leaving him. Again, this goes back to what I had mentioned earlier. He was able to learn all these different languages. He was able to move on and find a successful life outside of what he had gone through in Kinderheim. He was able to help others to the best of his ability, but there was one language throughout it all that he was incapable of learning to express genuinely, and that was emotion. That was love. You see, when he's not the Magnificent Steiner and beating people's faces until they're unrecognizable, more often than not he tries to put himself in rather optimistic and enjoyable situations, drinking fine wine, enjoying food, and having a nice picnic, finding himself in pleasant situations in order to feel happiness, but yet, despite that smile, that iconic smile we see is all forced. It was almost as if he had completely forgotten the taste of sugar. For those of you who remember where that comes from, you can see how all of these different characters sort of...
I don't know what Forgotten the Taste of Sugar is. That's a reference I don't know. So if you guys know it, down in the comments below, make sure to let me know and subscribe while you're down there, you fucking gooners.
Play into one another, and how Grimmer ends up really being sort of this combination of the grander struggle within the series that we see throughout all these different characters, how each of them go about life and dealing with these tribulations, and how some completely abandon their humanity while others cling on to it and see it for what it is. Despite the negatives and the pain that can come with being human, there is a blessing in being able to feel. And I just want to... I don't think there's anything I could say beyond that would be better than Grimmer's final words himself. I'm sad. Not sad because I'm dying. Right now I'm sad because my son died.
Bro. Ow. Holy shit. Fucking, that was a testicle punch right up to the heart, dude. Holy shit, dude. Oh, God, dude. Oh, God, he couldn't feel for so long, and then it all hit him right away, and then it takes him back to the worst moment that he wasn't able to feel before, because he was still trapped in this fucking abuse cycle that he grew up in, hiding it behind a smile, and then it was one of those things you couldn't hide behind a smile anymore. Oh, Jesus, dude. What the fuck?
People can't lose their emotions. My emotions were just lost somewhere where I couldn't find them. Just like a letter from someone addressed to me. Finally arrived decades after it was mailed. Is this true sadness? Or is it happiness?
Holy shit, dude. I mean, I could understand where he could say it's happiness, because he didn't feel for so long, and now it's all hitting him, so he's finally getting that fucking So there's this thing, like, I'm sure everybody's done from time to time, where they repress, like, some awful shit that happened to them, and they repress it for so long that, and it just keeps seeping out a little bit at a time, and then eventually it will catch up to you, and you'll have this breaking moment. You'll have that good shower cry, if you know what I mean, where you're just fucking blubbering like an idiot. And there's a part in that is so freeing, and it's like this vulnerability that sucks. It sucks, and you don't want to have that happen, because you know it, like, every time you have those little seep outs, it sucks, but there's something about just freely letting that shit out, like, and just freely being done with it after dealing with it so long, that is one of the most freeing things ever. But it's also, like, it's sad, but it's also happy. It's weird. This is a fucking really good encapsulation of what that feeling is, and I don't know if anybody else has like done that. I mean, I'm sure that there's tons of people out there, obviously, who's gone through really traumatic shit, and when you go through that traumatic shit, I mean, there's two ways to go about it. You keep going on with your life, knowing that the world doesn't stop for you, and there is a part of you that has to kind of shove that shit down, and like you don't know how to deal with it at the time. I mean, it's gonna hit you hard, but you don't really like the shock and the horror of something bad happening hits you really hard. Hits you really hard, but you know that you have to keep going. You have to keep going. You have your responsibilities, and you will keep kind of toying with that same event over and over and over again until you finally have kind of that full moment of just release. And it's beautiful. It's really beautiful, but it's really dark inside at the same time. It's such a weird thing, and it's hard to encapsulate in anything. But this is probably one of the best like quotes I've ever seen to encapsulate that feeling.
In the last episode of The Magnificent Steiner, he must have gone back to being a human. In life, we'll go through these trials and tribulations that will push us and tempt us to cast aside the very thing that makes us human. Our emotions. It's our way of coping with the cruel reality of the universe, if you choose to see it that way. But I think I challenge anyone, in fact, I challenge all of us, to be more like Grimmer. That in the end, the greatest blessing we could ever have is to be human.
Damn. This is a brilliant video. This is so fucking good, dude. This was such a beautiful video, the way that he just kind of encapsulated all of this. It's just, this is the thing I love about Masked Man. He knows how to like insert humor when it needs to be inserted. He's got references that obviously I love to lolcow stuff, but he also has a way of just like doing his music and everything that's like really beautiful, and how he's able to just craft an entire narrative. This is something I don't script my videos out. Obviously, this is a reaction commentary video, so obviously I don't script this shit out at all. I just kind of fucking slap my my elongated clit on the counter and say, "Oh, look at me fucking talking." But when I make my video game reviews, I try to set up a narrative beforehand. But I really don't like scripting because I've done a scripted video in the past. I didn't like the way it sounded. I ended up scrapping that video and going back to where I like kind of bullet points that I wanted to cover in the video, and then making the jokes. And I do need to get a little bit better with when I want to talk about the more serious stuff about crafting that narrative. And I watch his videos and I'm like, that's what I need to do. And like me choosing music too is one of my least favorite fucking parts of any video. I'm not gonna lie. I know that it's important, but when I get into it and I'm just like, oh, everything, it's like so hard to move around the copyright system. It's so hard to find things that are copyright friendly. I end up just like finding a soundtrack for a game, putting it underneath my dialogue, and then going. And again, I'm a joke guy, so I just always feel like it's tough for me to do like these really serious things because like again, I want to be making fucking jokes. Even when with like the Grimmer thing, if I were to have done this, I would have put like 18,000 pussy jokes or dick jokes throughout this entire video. It would have been unnecessary. It probably would have muddied the waters of the point. But and this is why I do stuff like this too, this commentary type shit, because it's like I get to experience this type of stuff and I get to like put my jokes in. I didn't put a lot of jokes in this video, but it's one of those things that I get to actually like kind of embody these stories and get to engage with these narratives that I know that I am probably not the best guy to cover in my own dedicated video, but it's nice to be able to like add on. And like that's what I love about this platform, bro, is I can like look at something like this that is truly remarkably beautiful, kind of ruin it a little bit with my fucking bullshit and my cum goblin behavior, but I still get to like engage with it on the platform. I don't know, it's pretty cool. But yeah, insanely beautiful video. I think he just stares off he stares off into the sunset till the end. I mean, I've seen this one, I've seen this one, so I think I've covered almost everything there is to be covered without with Monster. I mean, maybe if you guys have any other suggestions in the comments below, definitely let me know. But I think that's all I got for that one today, guys. Thank you so much for showing up. I really appreciate you all. You guys are what keeps me going, at least in this YouTube landscape, because in my real life I have like a wife and kid, and I'm very happy, and I have a job that pays me good money. So this shit, like, but I'm really passionate, and I have a lot of fun doing this shit. So like, it keeps me going on this platform. Every time I see those comments, every time I see those well, likes, I don't really pay attention to that shit. But like the comments and like the views, I definitely pay attention to, and I read all the comments. I usually try to respond to all of them too. So thank you guys so much for coming around, and I'll catch you on the next one.